Thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. On the show today, we recap the achievements of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in 2023. We'll also share measures by the government to safeguard the country's economic gains. Let's start things off with the news of the day right after this message.
We all play a pivotal role in proactively filling up the blood bank by donating blood, by encouraging those who can donate to do so regularly, and by offering support, whatever that looks like. So be it to retweet it, be it to ask a family member, tell a friend, a co-worker, a colleague, even a stranger.
1 liter of blood can save 3 lives. You can give half of that at any of the Ministry of Health and Wellness's blood collection sites. There is no time to wait in a time of crisis where blood is needed. Every passing moment, the life of someone who needs blood hangs in the balance.
I stand here before you as a testimony of the life-saving effects of donating blood. Someone gave, that's why I am alive today.
If you are 17 to 60 years old and in good health, please give so others can live.
Good day, I'm Twyla Whelan and this is your JS News for Thursday, January 25, 2024. Government is making progress on discussions regarding the restructuring of benefits and allowances for public sector workers under Phase 2 of the compensation review exercise. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, made that declaration in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Dr. Clark was responding to concerns raised about a reduction in the allocation for public sector compensation contained in the 4th supplementary estimates that he tabled during the sitting.
The compensation restructure, the first phase of it, is for the most part complete with the exception of a few entities. But after dealing with the salaries and restructuring the salaries, the restructuring of benefits is now under discussion. So we're making progress in the sense that we're now moving on to discuss items that we were not discussing in 2023.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has hailed the construction of a mega apartment complex in Montego Bay, which he says will bring a new level of real estate development to the island. The private development, dubbed the Pinnacle, entails the construction of 4 28-story apartment blocks in the Reading area of the second city over the next 4 years. The new community will sit on its own peninsula and have over 500 apartments overlooking the city's marine reserve. It will offer villas, sports, leisure and shopping facilities, restaurants, and a private residence club.
I want to congratulate the principals of LCH development. It is a visionary project. It is a project that shows quite a bit of bravery. And I know that there are many looking on the project and saying this is substantial, this is significant. So you're not only breaking ground today, you're doing something that is groundbreaking in Jamaica.
Mr. Holness says the development will cement Jamaica's brand in the lifestyle segment of the hospitality market and add a new dimension to the island's tourism product. The Minister of Tourism and Chief Executive Officer of LCH Developments shared similar sentiments.
Being respectful of our environment in all its forms are going to be centerpieces of their development strategy. And we're excited about that because this is creating a new opportunity for that new demographic to embrace Jamaica. But I wanted to say that the advent of this particular product opens a new door also in terms of city tourism. Montego Bay traditionally has been known to be a resort town. We're taking it now to another dimension.
Our project isn't just about construction. It's a promise to honor and preserve the nature, natural beauty. I'm glad us here in the first place.
The recently paved Moorland Community Road in northeastern St. Catherine has brought great relief to commuters. The roadway serves residents who traverse Guys Hill, Riversdale and Troja. Prime Minister Andrew Holness toured the area last week with Member of Parliament Carencia Morrison. The MP explained that the thoroughfare, which had been in need of repairs for over 30 years, was completed at an estimated cost of $60 million.
The residents, they are grateful for it, they are ecstatic and certainly most deserving.
Mr. Holness again promised that other such roads would get this kind of well-needed attention under his administration's new $40 million Spark program.
What we want to do is for whatever expenditure we make, which will be probably the most significant expenditure for road repair in decades, that we certainly deal with the roads that the residents feel is critical to their economy, critical to their comfort, critical to their productivity.
Government is moving to transform the infrastructure of 8 health facilities this year. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the announcement as he addressed a recent handing over ceremony for the renovated Santa Cruz Health Center.
Over the next number of months to come this year, we're expecting to approve approximately 8 substantial hospital infrastructure projects. Over the next couple of months, you will hear of Health Center in Old Harbor, St. Jago Park in St. Catherine, Portmore, then we will hear about Maypen, then we'll hear about St. Anne.
Dr. Tufton says these developments will transform the facilities into modern, more comfortable spaces for delivering high-quality health care.
We do this with certain critical things in mind. Greater sensitivity to the changing environment in which we exist. Greater levels of maintenance, because in the past we built and didn't maintain, to ensure we have longer, sustainable usefulness of the infrastructure. And ultimately, a more people-centered and people-centric infrastructure.
And finally, more market upgrades are coming. That commitment was given by Prime Minister Andrew Holness as he toured the Hopewell and Cleveland Stanhope markets in Hanover a few days ago. The Prime Minister told stakeholders that market development was a major part of government's planned focus on urban townships.
We will be going around the country, looking at the markets, getting a full assessment, but the real reason is to hear what you have to say. And we're going to conduct as much repairs as we can.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Twyla Whelan. Thanks for watching.
Water is precious. So we encourage everyone to practice the 4 R's of water conservation. Always remember to reduce your use of water wherever possible. Replace water wasting devices with water savings devices. Reuse water wherever possible. And wherever leaks are found, please repair them and repair them quickly.
Don't delay. Practice the 4 R's of water conservation today.
It's now time to recap the achievements of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in 2023.
Good day, everyone. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Flight MFAFT 2023. We're about to take off, so kindly sit back, relax, and enjoy what's ahead.
The year has been a highly active one and one that has definitely yielded good success.
In 2023, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade embarked on a quest to deepen Jamaica's international relations and to promote our country's interests on the global stage. Here are some highlights of the Ministry's 2023 mission itinerary.
Jamaica now has formal diplomatic relations with 174 of the 193 members of the United Nations. And we signed formal diplomatic relations with the Kingdom of Jordan and with the Republic of Liechtenstein. Both very interesting, very different countries, and we look forward to strengthening our engagement with them.
The ministry also signed several agreements with its bilateral partners to further boost Jamaica's growth and national development. These include MOUs with Portugal and the Republic of Greece for political consultations, a violence prevention partnership with the United Kingdom, agreed minutes with the Republic of Korea for grant aid, agreed conclusions of the 10th Jamaica-Mexico Binational Commission to strengthen trade, investment, and cooperation, MOU with Barbados to strengthen cooperation between the two countries, and a MOU with the Dominican Republic to expand cooperation in various sectors.
We were able to secure, for example, by virtue of our bilateral and strategic relationships with our bilateral and multilateral partners. Morocco, for example, we were able to secure fertilizers for farmers valued at over $100 million. When you speak of our relations with our Asian partners, you can look at South Korea. We were able to secure tablets, over 4,000 tablets for students. This was a gift from the Koreans, which we gave to the Ministry of Education. Again, that was valued at over 70 million Jamaican dollars.
16 tertiary students also received scholarships valued at $40,000 through support from the Jamaican diaspora. And much needed medical equipment was donated to the ministry in 2023 from the People's Republic of China, valued at over 77 million Jamaican dollars. In 2023, the ministry reaped notable results from its flagship economic diplomacy program, which was rolled out in conjunction with JAMPRO.
Seeks to identify more investment opportunities in coming to Jamaica as well as opportunities outgoing, and we've really had some good results in that regard, including entry of coffee into the EU market, which was something that was not being pressed before.
One of the new initiatives that came out of this economic diplomacy program was the establishment of honorary investment advisors. This is where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and ourselves have looked to identify Jamaican business persons and professionals overseas who are well connected, who can assist JAMPRO in getting in contact and getting in the room with key investors and also with big distributors in the States, especially in the agribusiness field. So right now we have 4 honorary investment advisors. One has been named for Florida, one for Atlanta, one for Toronto, and one for Japan.
For diaspora engagement, we have had a series of regional conferences. So we had our diaspora conference in Canada, and this was across Montreal, Toronto, and in Ottawa. We had the diaspora conference in the United Kingdom. I also met with the diaspora in Antigua. We also had the inaugural diaspora conference for continental Europe, and that was in early December.
The Global Jamaican Diaspora Council and the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council were also launched to deepen collaboration between Jamaica and its citizens living overseas. By all indications, 2023 yielded numerous accomplishments for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and plans are already in place to make this year just as rewarding.
So in 2024, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade will be seeking to deepen our diplomatic relations with partners bilaterally, regionally, hemispherically, and multilaterally. We'll be seeking to leverage those partnerships in the interests of the Jamaican people for Jamaica's national development. We'll be seeking to ensure that there's more cooperation at the technical and economic level, and we'll be making sure that we do everything we can do to make Jamaica a better place.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We will be landing shortly. Thank you for choosing Flight MFAFT 2023.
Read a book right now or later. Read a book for the higher education.
The government is serious about safeguarding the island's economic gains. One way that's being done is through a natural disaster reserve fund, which holds resources to use when a catastrophic event occurs. Here's how it works.
Jamaica is prone to natural disasters such as hurricanes and earthquakes. Did you know in 1988, Hurricane Gilbert blew the roofs off 80% of the country's houses and wrecked the economy? The government has learned from past experiences and will implement a national natural disaster reserve fund to assist the country financially in the event of a natural disaster. But how does it work? Hi, I'm Shaquille Rochester Shorter and welcome to Finance Matters. Today I will be speaking with Mr. Taron Francis, Chief Fiscal Economist in the Economic Management Division at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service about the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund. Remember to like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow the Ministry of Finance on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn and now TikTok to see all the episodes and highlights. Mr. Francis, thank you for coming on our program.
Thank you for having me, Shaquille.
What is the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund?
Okay, so the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund is actually an account to be established that will house resources to deal with losses associated with natural disasters.
Okay.
That will enable the government to respond quickly and effectively in the aftermath of a natural disaster.
So, Mr. Francis, when will this fund become accessible?
Okay, so the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, we're aiming to have the relevant amendment to the Financial Administration and Audit Act submitted to Parliament by the end of December 2023. At that time as well, we are aiming to have the financial regulations that will govern the transaction relating to the fund finalized and approved. So we expect that the fund should become operationalized sometime after the end of December 2023.
That's good news. So, Mr. Francis, in the event of an emergency, a devastating disaster, how quickly will we be able to access this fund?
All right, so we know that it is important to be able to mobilize funds as quickly as possible after you have had a natural disaster event that would have resulted in significant losses.
Yes.
And so the fund is expected to, the monies from the fund are expected to be disbursed within a very short period of time. Now, the reserve fund, one of the proposals is that the fund should be accessed only if the natural disaster would have impacted the country with damages exceeding 1.5% of GDP. And so what it will require is the Fiscal Commissioner to ascertain the impact of the disaster. And then once that has been concluded, the process to get the funds from the account will begin. And that process is expected to go pretty quickly. It will take the same process as would a normal warrant. So the Public Expenditure Division would issue a warrant. Auditor General would do their audit. The various ministries and departments would put in their request for the monies to be expended, and then Auditor General will have the money disbursed to the accounts for the spending to take place. So that process is expected to be short within say 10 to 15 days or less.
But some would say that's not really short, 10 to 15 days after a disaster?
The fact is that it will take a little while for the assessment of the impact.
Okay.
So that is going to be what is likely to consume most of the time prior to the disbursement of the fund. But no doubt, the funds are going to be disbursed in a relatively short time.
So how prepared would you say we are with this fund now?
We are much better prepared than we would have been. Certainly, a decade ago, 5 years ago. This fund is expected to be capitalized from the national budget up to $10 billion. But not only will it hold monies capitalized from the budget, the fund is proposed to also house those payments that would have been remitted from the other policies that we currently have for disaster risk financing. So when the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility pays out with a triggering event, those funds are expected to be paid into the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund. We're talking about the catastrophe bond. If a payment is made, then it will also go to that account. So we are much better prepared, I'd say, relative to where we would have been a few years ago.
So, to be clear, the NNDRF is different from the catastrophe bond?
It is different. So the catastrophe bond is an instrument that would have been issued in the international capital market that allow us to draw down up to US $185 million. In the event of a triggering event, the monies are paid out and are utilized to finance response and reconstructive activities. Reconstruction activities. In terms of the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund, as I said, first it will be capitalized by monies to be allocated from the budget, and then where payments are made based on the current instruments that we have available, those will also go into the Disaster Reserve Fund. So there are two separate instruments, except that one of them, when it pays out, it will be held in the account of the National Disaster Reserve Fund.
Now I get you, Mr. Francis. So before we go, quickly, tell us 3 things that we need to remember about the NNDRF.
So the first thing I want us to remember is that the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund is just one of a number of instruments that we have in terms of disaster risk financing. So we have the Natural Disaster Fund, we have the catastrophe bond, we have the contingent credit facility with the IDB, we have risk policies with the insurance policies with the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility. So it is just one of the instruments that we have in our suite of instruments for disaster risk financing. The second thing is that the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund will be capitalized from the budget in addition to holding resources that are made available when a triggering event would have resulted in a payout from one of the other instruments that we have available. And the last thing I'd want to say is the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund is certainly putting Jamaica in a better position to be able to respond quickly and effectively to natural disasters when they do occur.
I'm happy to hear that, Mr. Francis. On that note, thank you for being on our program today.
It was a pleasure to be here.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of Finance Matters. Remember to follow us on social media at MOF Jamaica and tune in next week as we continue to demystify the economic and fiscal policies and initiatives implemented by the government to empower Jamaicans as we chart a path to Jamaica's economic prosperity.
I had a plan for my life. I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be the first in my family to do great things. Then a friend of mine sold me into prostitution. You mash up my life.
Stop human trafficking. It destroys lives. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of human trafficking, call 811 or 1-888-PROTECT. Be wise. Open your eyes. Spot them. Stop them. A message brought to you by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
We ask developers, we ask persons who have an interest to develop land, and even overwater structures and sea, we ask that you adhere to the policies and the guidelines that we would have presented in the different policies, guidelines that the National Environment and Planning Agency has. We have the development order, We have different protections and acts that we regulate. We have the Natural Resources Conservation Act, we have Wildlife Act, we have several acts. We have a plethora of policies, guidelines, and we have what I would call a structured legislative framework that can guide persons, and we request and ask that persons adhere to these regulations and these laws that we have. They're here to protect you, and they're here to guide you and how you develop your natural and built spaces, and also to ensure that we have soundness in our development and also to protect our people.
We ask the citizenry to have your buildings designed by the reputable persons, whether it be architects or engineers, and have the construction executed by a reputable constructor or contractor. There are some fundamental areas inside of the building that we expect the constructors to focus on in the event of an earthquake, and these areas are the foundation and the columns. Those are critical to keep the buildings up while there's an earthquake. So we ask that the junctions where you can have shear taking place be properly constructed in order to have the building lasting longer to allow the citizen or the occupant to leave the building.
In the event of an earthquake, we must be always mindful of the fact that one, you cannot move, or you should not be moving about when the shaking takes place. Duck, cover and hold until after the shaking stops. After the shaking stops, if you see the need, then you can call the nearest fire station, 110, or most important, 112 if you don't have any signal. So if the cell service goes, you will see your cell phone saying emergency calls only. Once you press the call sign, it will take you to 112. 112 will automatically take you to the country that you're in, to the emergency services, and it will get assistance to you. But most importantly, persons need to know the number for their nearest fire station.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Do join us again tomorrow and we'll bring another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via X at JIS News. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.